All right, welcome to a Friday Reads, where I talk about what I read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next, and I think, based off my calendar and all the videos I want to get done before the end of the year, and currently my reading mood, this is probably the last Friday Reads of 2022, even though we still have half a month left. But I think next Friday will be like my worst of the year video, and then following that will either be like a TBR or a goals video, so we're just going with it. And also, I don't even know how much I'm going to be reading. I might read a little, I might read a lot, and we're just going to go with it. And some of the things I might read, I might not be able to talk to you guys about because I might be participating in a secret project. And it's very secret, so you don't get to know. And that's okay. But into this video, we're going to talk about what I've read, what I'm reading, and then I have a stack of possibilities that may or may not happen because it's going to completely depend on my mood. But as of right now, sitting down to film, these were the things that called to me that I could see myself potentially like trying a chapter of, picking up, reading. I think there's only one other here like on the list that's like an obligation, but yeah, we're going to get into it. First, I mean, I didn't finish this one first since I last talked to you guys, but it feels like it's worth mentioning. I finished Gathering Storm. Book 12, it's done. It happened. It's actually very fun. This is actually a really fun book. Yeah, I think something that was fun about buddy reading this and reading the first Sanderson entry in Wheel of Time is figuring out what are the things that Sanderson does in storytelling that really do work for me. Because at its core, this is still Wheel of Time. These are still, to me, characters that I have been following for 11 books and a prequel up to this point. They didn't feel dramatically changed or presented. They still thought in similar thought patterns and thought trees and things like that. It still felt like it had the details and mannerisms I associate with Wheel of Time. So it's still Robert Jordan's world. Sanderson's just writing in it. And I think now more than ever, I really could feel that Sanderson's prose for me is less in his writing style and more in his pacing qualities and how he sets the scene and how he sets me up as a reader for certain payoff in later scenes, if that makes sense. I have always been really lost in Robert Jordan's action scenes because I feel like I'm never really set up to know who I should be following when and why, and then there are certain reveals that are super quick, and like for me, I wasn't on all the internet threads to like really figure out who was who, why, and important, like all of that. So sometimes, at least in action scene moments, I never felt super fulfilled in Wheel of Time. But here there are some big moments, and part of it is catharsis from stuff that Robert Jordan has been setting up. But other things are that Sanderson does a good job of reminding me who's important subtly before putting me in scenes with them. And then he does do his classic sort of like 3 to 5 point of views that we keep switching between, and I think he just paces those type of things really well for my tastes. So that was something that was cool to like unpack about what works and doesn't work for Sanderson and me. I think he's better at handling side characters that aren't that important and making them important to me. So yeah, but otherwise it truly felt like, a Wheel of Time book. It was Egwene's book, and I love Egwene. So, that was very fun. So I did it, and I think we're going to pick up book 13 in February. So we will continue on in Towers of Midnight. I will say it was really funny. About halfway through this book, there was a thing we all wanted to have happen at this point in the series, and I realized the title of book 13. And I was like, oh, that thing we want to happen, that's not going to happen until book 13. Which is kind of a bummer, but there were enough cool things. Another book I finished is Long Petal of the Sea. This was my first Isabel Allende, and I loved it. And I don't even think it's considered her best work or anything like that, and this isn't magical realism like a lot of her other works. This is more straight historical fiction. And at first I was a little bit nervous. I was like, I don't know if this writing style is going to work for me. It felt very distant. I didn't really know who my cast of characters were to follow. We were dipping in and out, and also there was just a lot of arm's length stuff happening to help, I think, the characters and me as the reader deal with all of the badness that's in this book. But by the end, I was incredibly emotionally affected by the journey I got to see. And this is a book that I really think that if you're someone who loves ride or die, platonic relationships that almost feel like they can survive lifetimes, Victor and Rosa in this book are truly that type of epic story. I really loved that element, and personally really loved learning more about South American history and Spanish history. Things that, we don't learn about. We don't really learn a lot about what's happening in Europe pre-World War II, except for a few countries, but the Spanish Civil War, fascinating. And then what happens in Chile in the 20th century and the role America plays and what a lot of people have to go through because of the Spanish Civil War and because of the government takeover in Chile. Like, a lot of things that are really important context to world history that I know very little of, so it definitely sparked this whole, I want to fill in these knowledge gaps. So it was great at doing that, which I love historical fictions to do, but it also gave me like this generational interlocking story that had a really strong emotional core that I just really loved, and it spans like 60 years within 300 pages. Like, that's why I really wasn't sure if this writing style would work for me, just because there are a lot of montages, there's a lot of compression of time, and sometimes that doesn't mean you get to sit in the moments. I will say when we were at book club, you know, we had a lot of discussion about the parts of this book that aren't perfect, because it's not a perfect book, but I could not stop reading it. It was hard to pick up for me because it is such a heavy topic. It's not my type of genre that I gravitate towards, but once I had it in my hand, once I'd read 20 or 30 pages, I would suddenly be reading 150 pages. Like, I just could not put it down. I think I read the second half or second third of this in one sitting, which is very abnormal for me, especially for historical fiction. So yeah, I'm really excited to read more of her backlist. Like, House of the Spirit, I think, is her debut and one of her most beloved works, and I cannot wait to try that out. So those are my two finishers, which was great. 2 great books to finish. I'm currently in the middle of 2 other works. Half a Soul, still working on, because that kind of got put on pause while I was reading Gathering Storm. Because I spent a lot of this weekend reading Gathering Storm while decorating my living room and making cookies and doing all the things that I needed to do with an audiobook. It worked really well for that, and also I've been working on a blanket, so I've been doing a lot of audiobooking, and Half a Soul has been my physical, only I read. But it's really fun, still delightful. A thing just happened that has me very stressed, where I'm at like the 67% mark, so I'm in the point of this type of story where things are supposed to hit the fan, and I'm just like stressed. And everyone should be proud of me. I thought about being like, Angela, you only have 2 hours left of reading this. You could read it before you film this video and you can say you finished it. And then I was like, no, Angela, because then you will rush the experience and you're not going to be reading the book at its own pace. So I'm working on it. So when I get to my wrap up, I'll talk about, like, you know, did it stick the landing for me or anything like that. But I've been enjoying my time, you know. I really like our 2 leads. I also really like the supporting characters, and it's got a good Regency feel to it. So it's delivering on everything I wanted it to for me as a book. And then the other book I'm reading is Fool's Fate. I don't know how far I am into this. We just got to chapter 15 today. However far that is. I think there's 38 chapters, and they're usually all about 30 to 50 pages. So an amount of pages into this really long book, because I chose to read 2 like 900-page books at the same time because I am reasonable. It is Tome Topple right now, so I am on theme. I am participating. But that was a choice. At one point, I was just reading Fool's Fate and Gathering Storm at the same time, and I'm like, this is a choice. I'm now buddy reading it with both Benz and Grace, and it's lovely. I may or may not have signed myself up to just buddy read the rest of the Realm of the Elderlings with them, because I like the pacing that they take the books at, which works really well for me, just like 3 chapters a day. So that's been working really well for me. I'm really pro a lot of these side characters. I'm trying to think what I can say without like spoiling things, but there are some characters who just talked to Fitz and said everything to Fitz that I have been saying in Boxer Buddy Reads. And I'm like, thank you. Someone finally said it. Goodness. Like, I don't know. It just felt cathartic. I needed that. So, and this book definitely, like, we're seeing a lot of lore things fall into place. We're seeing the plot of Tawny Man kind of come forward. I'm nervous. I'm truly nervous. I have a lot of theories. It's been a fun one. This one might be my favorite, but that I don't know if that's because of the book itself or because of how I'm buddy reading it. Because, you know, like, experiences around reading can really affect it. So I don't know. It's still got a lot of Fitz being Fitz. That's for sure, but it's not as bad as Golden Fool. Golden Fool Fitz was testing me, truly. So that's what I'm currently in the middle of. And so now I have a stack of books, some of which I was just gifted, and some of which I just looked at my shelves and I'm like, I'm kind of feeling these. First, I guess, the last read that I had on my TBR that I at least want to try. If I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to force myself to finish it, but I've got Persuasion by Jane Austen. This is the one that, like, ended on that page number for the Reindeer Readathon prompt. Let's see, what page did it end on? Where's the end page? Because that's what I used. So 6. So this is a thing that I want to read for multiple reasons. I think Half a Soul's got me sort of in a Regency adjacent mood. I do like Jane Austen's writing based off what I remember in the past. It's not that long. If I have problems reading it with my eyes, I'll go find one of the many audiobooks. If you have a favorite audiobook narrator for Persuasion, leave it in the comments down below. Preferably one that's easy to get my hands on at the library. I don't really want to use a credit for this. So that's my last obligation. But then I have a bunch of books that I would like to read. So first, a gift from Evie for my birthday was this short story collection by T. Kingfisher. Now, I think I have 2 short story collections in front of me. I have this one. I don't know what it's about. I assume they're speculative, potentially. No idea. I'll read anything T. Kingfisher writes. And part of my brain's like, I do kind of want to read T. Kingfisher. T. Kingfisher makes me want to read, and all I want to do is feel like I want to read. But we were also talking about reading Salt Slow, which I just recently read the back of the book, and I'm just like, oh, but those short story themes, they sound cool. Like, let's see, it's like Julia Armfield explores bodies and the bodily mapping the skin and bones of her characters through their experiences of isolation, obsession, love, and revenge. And that sounds great. It says teenagers develop ungodly appetites, a city becomes insomniatic, and bodies are diligently picked apart to make up better ones. This sounds like really fun horror. Like, this sounds really fun. And very different from other things I've been reading this month. And I've been reading a lot of fantasy, so it might be good to, like, be here. And this is really short. So, Evie, we need to decide which one of these we are slowly reading. Might not finish this month, but, what are we picking up? What are we doing? And Jess Owens, who I'm sure you follow, if not, all the channels I ever mentioned in my videos are in my description if you want to check them out. They were unhauling books, and I saw this, and I was like, oh, I want that book. So I have The Ones We're Meant to Find, which is a young adult book that has really been on my radar. Even though a lot of people have had very mixed experiences with it, I think it's sci-fi or dystopian, that vibe, which works better for me than fantasy YA. And it's about 2 siblings who are trying to come back towards each other, I believe, which another one of my tropes. And I don't know, I've just heard really beautiful things about it. The cover is really nice. And worst case, if I don't like it, I give it to my local bookstore, I donate it. But I really wanted to. These end pages are so pretty. And it just feels like the type of young adult I am attracted to. Like, a lot of the reviews I felt made it seem like it was slower paced, more meandering, and like, I love that. So, also, I got a bookmark. Jess has these gorgeous bookmarks, and I'm like, look at Nigel! Oh, and it's really high quality. Like, I'm like legit excited to use this. This is like my level of like thickness, and it feels weighty. I'm very happy about it. So that could happen if I want to. I don't know. And then I picked up 2 books off my shelf that I've been itching to reread, and I keep not doing it because I keep thinking about rereading instead of rereading. So, one or both of these, or neither, might happen. First, again, I was feeling T. Kingfisher, Nettle and Bone. It's so short. I could knock this out in like 2 days. Easy. So if come like the week of Christmas, week after Christmas, I just want to like snuggle in a blanket, read one of my favorite books, can easily knock this out. Similarly, another reread I could do that I could knock out in 2 to 3 days, and I know that because that's what I did last time, is The Best of All Possible Worlds by Karen Lord. And I just found out the audiobook is Robin Miles. So if I don't find my physical reading headspace, but I still want to consume a story, I could use the audiobook for this. I don't know. Like I said, very few of these are like set in stone. I know I want to start a short story collection with Evie because we've been wanting to buddy read one. I know I want to try Persuasion, and I want to finish the 2 books I'm currently reading. Everything else is a bonus. I've read so many books this year. And if all I want to do is watch a bunch of TV and movies or play video games, I'm going to do that. Currently been getting back into Hades because of the sequel announcement, and it is so fun. And like, I feel like I'm getting better at it, and it's the type of video game that like, I don't know, that I want to play. And it's slowly like getting me kind of in the mood to maybe pick up Horizon Zero Dawn again. I don't know, I just need to like, I sit into games a little bit more, give myself time to mess around with them, get used to the idea of failure, like a lot of failure, because I'm really bad. I have a lot of YouTube videos that I want to watch that aren't just BookTube. Like, I still always watch BookTube every day, but I got a lot of board gaming videos that are coming out, which, because I'm a nerd, but it's the top 10 season, and I got a lot of top 10 videos to watch to see what board games I probably should not buy because I own too many games. But I just love doing that, and tonight I'm seeing Six with my best friend. When I saw it this summer with my mom, I'm like, we need to see this when it comes to Boston. It is so fun, and both of our birthdays are like end of November, December, so it's like our birthday hangout, so that'll be really fun. So I have a lot of plans, and we'll see what happens. So, you know, this is the last Friday Reads, but not the last video you will see from me this holiday season. I just feel like there's going to be a lot of other things. I got a lot of wrap-up videos. I got a lot of planning videos. And I honestly can really only do 3 videos a week right now. So that's what it's going to be. But I hope you have a lovely weekend. Have a great time. Hopefully you can power through whatever work requires of you this last week before we can actually get a little break with Christmas. Even if you don't celebrate, I hope you are given that break because I am feeling it. I feel like I need a break really bad to just enter the new year as fresh as possible. But that's it for this video. If you want to leave a comment, you know, feel free to throw your opinion out there about which book in my stack of possibilities I should read. I will still make my own decision, but it's always fun to see what people think. If you want to leave an emoji, as I look at this. Ooh, there are waves on this book. Leave waves. And I've been playing Hades, and Poseidon abilities are very wave-like, so we'll do waves. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.